So today we will be doing a bit of a visualization meditation, but also a bit of touch and tracing of the body. We will continue to work with the theories from Chinese medicine of the liver and the gallbladder. And part of those theories that we'll be exploring today in the visualization is that that's very much a part of the liver meridian, is our ability to visualize, our ability to be visionaries and see our life ahead of us, or in other words, the direction in which we are choosing to move. And part of the gallbladder meridian is choosing. So the gallbladder is what makes the decisions. It's the decision maker, or it's that which is affected when it's out of balance. We have a hard time making decisions. And so in order to know what direction we're moving, we need to make a decision, choose which way we're going. And then the liver energy comes in and it asks for the action plan. It's like, okay, the liver moves the energy through the body. So the liver is like, what's the plan? Where am I moving energy to? What direction are we going and how are we getting there? I want to move the energy there. And as we've spoken on, when we don't make decisions, the energy in the body is just like, it's sitting there and it's fiery and it starts to stagnate. And stagnation can lead to a lot of heat in the body, which can lead to frustration and irritability and anger. And all of those emotions, if we look at them instead of naming them, if we look at them in terms of energy, irritability, frustration, and anger is energy that has nowhere to go, just directionless. And the reason we have no direction is because we haven't made a choice in where we're going. And so then the gallbladder gets in there and becomes affected too. So think gallstones. Gallstones are like decisions that were never made. They just sit there. They sit there until they become a physical something. Anyway, so that's sort of how energetically that's moving in the body. And the liver, the spirit of it is called the hun. And the liver, the spirit, is able to, it moves up and down. It's our etheric spirit. It's said that it is the spirit that will always live. And so it comes out of our body and it colludes with the heart, the spirit of the heart, which communicates with the cosmos or the divine. And the liver meridian, or the spirit of the liver, goes up. It colludes with the heart. It receives information and then it brings it back down into the body. And it is from that we get our visions of where we're going. What's the future? The cosmos hold the future. What we're building towards, how we create. And so the liver is engaging with that information and bringing that information into our bodies. So when we're not in flow and we're not in movement, the liver doesn't have that capacity to float up and receive the information and float back down. Sometimes the liver spirit actually won't want it to even come back into the body, or it'll have a hard time coming back into the body. And so we feel directionless, or like a little bit indecisive, because there's this energy that is not able to move the way that it wants to move. But it is from this information, when the liver is healthy, that we get the visuals of what our future is. And just to add on a little extra, where our ancestors come in terms of this, like, what future are we building? Our ancestors are actually our past information. And past information is not wrong. Past information is super important because it's what gives us legs to create within reality. So what have our ancestors tried behaviorally, physically, building, deconstructing? What have they tried? What worked? What didn't work? What context was it working within? All of this information comes from the ancestors, and we can take this information and then the information from the cosmos and create a future that stands a chance. And when we talk about ancestral information in terms of Chinese medicine, it comes from our kidneys and from the water element. which is the winter time. So it's when we spend time quietly deep inside our bodies in introspection and reflection and in silence and space. This is where the ancestors begin to talk. And then as we start to step into the spring and into the summer, when we step into heart or into the fire element, this is where we start. Summertime is like a time to be open and expansive and receive information from the divine, so that that information can come down and into our body and into our consciousness, and it gets organized through the spleen and the stomach, or the earth element. It organizes this information, and then we bring this information all the way into winter, and then this cosmic information collides with this ancestral information and gives us direction for spring. And so in this moment, if we really follow the seasons, we technically, if we're following the seasons, should have a plan of what we're creating and what we're moving forward with into the future. But what are we trying to do to allow our species to survive the current times and the current infrastructures that exist? Do they need to come down? Do they need to change? Do we need to recreate? And that's sort of this moment that we're sitting in. And so today, another thing I wanted to bring in outside of that Chinese medicine information is some somatic information. And there's 3 forms of how we sort of move through the world. We have collapsing, we have yielding, which is what we're aiming for, and we have propping. And so today, the reason I bring this in is just how we will engage with our bodies and with ourselves. And so collapsing is like you feel hopeless. You let people walk over you. Your yoga postures are almost like too mobile. You're too mobile in your body. There's no boundaries or ability to like hold yourselves up. It's just like really elastic people. That would be a form of collapse. When you sink into all your joints, that's a form of collapsing. That's what it would look like. Collapsing in terms of like mental, emotional would be when people press into you, you just let them and you fall back and say, okay, okay, okay. Like people pleasers would be collapsers. And then you have propping, which is quite the opposite. It's like almost too firm. It's people that are very stiff in their bodies. Of course, if you play tons and tons of sports and don't stretch and do all the other stuff to side counteract, you might be a little bit stiff. However, I'm talking about people that are stiff just as a natural state. So when you're too stiff or too propped, you have a really hard time stretching. Your muscles are really tight. Your tendons are almost like dehydrated. This would be like a physical form of propping. It's like those people when you hug them, and instead of it like being an embrace, it's like you might as well have just hugged the wall. That's a propper. They probably don't even want to hug you. There's this propping. And that would be people that are like so firm in their postures or in their movements that there's no space for malleability to come in. And often either one of those are built in based on a number of different things. One other thing about propping, like on a mental emotional space, would be like there's no room for conversation. It's the extremist way of thinking, like, no, you're wrong and I'm right. And I have no space for communication to find out where we could meet each other. It's just a full boundary. And there's an impenetrable boundary. And now, all of that being said, there's a time for both where we can utilize them as tools instead of making them right or wrong. We can use them as tools. So sometimes with my children, they're just like energetic creatures, right? Their energy body is constantly feeling and sensing and sorting. Like when my mom says no, like what level of no does she mean? And then they'll like feel out my whole system just to feel if there's any holes that they could poke to try and like get through this no that I'm offering. And so sometimes I have to prop and get really strong and be like, no, this is impenetrable. And then it becomes very clear for them. Sometimes we need to do that with family members, sometimes with our partners. Sometimes, like if you're training a dog, you have to become the alpha, and that's a very important skill. And other times when someone is perhaps my child, let's just use that example again, is having a very, very hard time, and they're like just needing a win, like they just need to win for a moment so that they can just find themselves for a second. Sometimes in that, I don't like to use the word collapse for that, but it's what it is. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to give you your win. I can see that your win is more important than me trying to yield with you. I'm just going to let you have your win. Sure, have a piece of chocolate, enjoy it, and then we can come back to this conversation. So one is not right and wrong. There's a place for everything. And now yielding, which is more so what I'm getting to in this moment, yielding is like placing your hand on cornstarch. If you take cornstarch and you mix it with water, or think about quicksand or mud, if you try to push your hand through it, it just sort of like it doesn't let you, it will prop. If you don't add enough pressure, you're not going to get through either. So that would be collapse. Whereas if you allow a certain amount of pressure onto cornstarch or quicksand, then it will receive you. And it just slowly, slowly, slowly lets your hand sink into it, and it leaves a perfect hand shape. Now, if you try to pull your hand out too quick, it almost suctions it in and you can't get it out. But you have to, if you don't add any pressure at all, so this would be collapse, you're not going to get your hand out. So you have to very slowly, the same way you went in, you got to come out, which is yielding. You're moving with when yielding. You're waiting, you're hearing, you're responding to what is there. And so you just slowly, slowly, slowly draw yourself out of the cornstarch, and your hand will come out. But if we do too fast, too slow, too much effort, not enough effort, it doesn't work. And so when we're in somatics, we're often looking for this ability to yield, to be with the rhythm of what is in front of us, to yield into our postures in a way that's both strong and resilient, but not stiff and rigid. It has still movement to it, but it's not movement that's just falling into itself and exhausted because everything feels heavy. Rather, it feels both strong and spacious and alive, but we're also moving with space. We're moving with our muscle, bone, systems, body fluids, all of it. And that is yielding. And so today, when I'm using the word yielding, it's really just coming into what is in relationship right now, and how quick or how slow do I need to enter? How quick or how slow do I need to leave? So that nothing feels empty or pushed upon, but rather the whole experience feels heard and seen and held and then invited. Okay. Once again, it's a lot for the beginning of a class, but sometimes I just find these things are really important when we walk in to know not exactly what experience we're going to have, but the relationship that we're looking for. Okay. So also in this class, it's optional whether you want to be still or move. Sometimes I find when I'm going through visualizations, I end up wanting to sort of move my body a little bit or experience the sensations in my body a little bit. And so you can very much feel free to do that. The perk of online is like it doesn't disrupt anybody for you to be moving. Some of you may find it more profound to just sit still. Some of you may want to lay down in a cocoon. Some of you may want to lean up against a wall, and maybe you'll move a little bit or maybe not at all. But the point is I'll be offering something, and you're invited to allow your body to receive it, and then express what it's receiving however it wants to express. And one more thing. So we've been playing with this idea of, with our senses, are we always moving towards, like, what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I smelling? There's this, I'm doing the smelling, or I'm trying to listen, or I'm looking. And instead, what I would love you to practice in this class particular, and just throughout the week, like just pulling it on and seeing how it fits, is can you let the words come to you instead? Can you let the smells of your space come to you instead? Just what arrives at your nose if you are just open to receive? What comes into your eyes if you are open to receive sight? And so this practice, when we're walking through it, as my words are coming out of my mouth and towards you, what can you let my words come all the way to you? And let the vibration of my words come into you and allow your body to respond to the vibration of my words without you trying to respond to what I'm saying, or trying to hear what I'm saying, or trying to understand what I'm saying. Could you try and allow your liver or your gallbladder to receive my words and respond from your liver or your gallbladder? Okay. That's a lot now. I'll leave that there. So let's take a pause and set yourself up. Take a few breaths, or do whatever you do when you come to step into your sacred practice and your sacred space that you're sharing with your deep self. This silent space that we share with our ancestors through our genetics and our tissues and our blood. If you're a woman, even the eggs in your ovaries came from your mother, not from you. And when we sit in this sacred space and we open to the space that exists within our body, we open to the potentiality of the air, the ether, and the divine to mingle their spaciousness with our space. So when we come into this sacred practice, we offer ourselves this moment to come together with past, present, and future through this beautiful body of ours. I just give you a moment to to come there. And even in this arrival, notice if it arrives through yielding, if it arrives through your propping, which is a well-trained seat, which is something we sometimes need to move through. Or if when you go into this quiet space, if you go into collapse because of exhaustion or tiredness, and to not judge yourself based on what you find, but just to notice, like when I come into silence, do I just collapse because my spirit is exhausted? And we can look at it as that, like just so loving, like, wow, my spirit's so tired that when I come to sit with it, my physique collapses. Or perhaps we're dealing with so much that when we come to spirit to sit, we prop ourselves up with this impenetrable armor so that our vulnerability that we're not ready to deal with yet is seen or felt. So we prop. And again, it's not wrong. There's no judgment or shame or guilt. It's just noticing, like, oh, wow, that's how my spirit is feeling right now. It's feeling caged, or like I have to show up in a certain way. And if I don't, what happens? And if you feel collapsed is what arrives, maybe lay down with your legs up the wall. If you're feeling really propped, maybe place your hands somewhere on your body that feels like it's impenetrable, and just let your hands be there, not to force yourself in or to say you need to soften, but rather just place a warm hand somewhere that feels a bit propped. Just let it be there and let them relate to each other or find relationship to each other. And once you feel like you have a bit landed in your body, with your hands, just begin to trace your skin. You can start wherever your hands go, move however your hands go, just feeling as much of your skin and external self, as much towards the back, the front, the top, the bottom, the sides, the center. Just tracing yourself with your hands, letting your body receive its here-ness. And when spirit offers us direction, when spirit shows us the future plan, it is this beautiful, magnificent, adaptable, intelligent body system that receives that information. Without this body, there's nothing to receive the cosmos. There's nothing to receive the divine guidance. There's nothing to tangibly create on this earth. And so when you're touching yourself, may it be from this like realization that, wow, this skin and muscle and bone and organs and systems and tissues and fluids, this is what creates my vision. This is what allows me, or what allows me to actually have dreams held, dreams created, crystallized into form. So when you touch yourself, may it be this yielding into realizing what our body is really here to allow us to do. To be reverent to this temple that your spirit sits within. And just keep letting your hands trace your body as you hold that idea for a moment. And also allowing your hands, if you're still feeling like there's any places that are propping, and they may melt or they may not melt. They might not be ready to melt yet. But if there are any places of propping, you can always just let your one hand sit there while your other hand roams your body. And if there's places of collapse, you can always place a hand there and offer your own self some energy through your heart, or from your heart through your arms, through your hand, and to your own tissue. We always think our hands can heal other people, and yet somehow we don't think they could heal ourselves. Good. And then allow your hands to find themselves And trace your own hands in between your fingers, the top of your hand, the palm of your hand. And you might want to be looking and watching your hands touching themselves, or you may want to close your eyes. Just sense in, if you're not sure which one, do both and see which one feels the most potent for you in this moment. And just feeling that which feels. This tangible skin that wraps your bones, covers all of the fascia that links your entirety together. Your skin, which has pores, allowing you to become more or less porous to the outer world. That allows you to help regulate your temperature, releasing heat, holding heat. And then bring your hands so that both your palms are touching, and let them really feel each other for a moment. It doesn't matter how they're touching, whether you're holding them up or down in your lap, it really does not matter. Just allowing the insides of your hands and fingers to touch one another. Your breath hopefully has just naturally deepened, given your level of presence. And eventually let your palms come to a halt. And just let them hold each other for a moment. Now, this is where the word yield will come in. To listen and to feel into the relationship, to the intimacy of your palms or fingers touching, and to yield them away from one another in a way that they don't feel like you just pulled them apart and that there's this loss of relationship, but rather that you yield. So you listen really closely, you feel really intimately as you, at whatever pace feels intimate still and still relational. You allow your hands to separate in a way that they still feel not separate, that you can still feel your palms and your fingertips even when they begin to no longer touch. And some of you, it might not be so slow. For some of you, it might have to be very slow for you to still feel that they're touching even when they're no longer touching. And then explore as you yield away, how far can your hands come while still being able to feel each other, to feel each other's warmth, almost as if there was like molasses or bubble gum stuck between the hands, but the bubble gum or molasses is just the energy, the relationship, the connection that remains even when not physically touching. And whenever you feel like you've gone as far as you're able to maintain that relationship, or you can feel the hands start to become a little bit cold because the energy has separated. Imagine like bubble gum, when you pull it too far apart, it severs in the middle. Just explore the edges of that, and there's no rush. Where is the disconnection point in your hands in this moment? Tomorrow it might be longer, tomorrow it might be shorter distance, and you may not find an end point. Whenever you are done, you can just very gently let your hands come to your lap and just hold the experience for a moment. no rush. Mm. When your hands do come to a rest, and again, there's absolutely no rush to get there, stay with your experience. Allow yourself to see if your whole being and every cell of your being can yield to its own self. You're made up of so many cells, communities of cells. Imagine if all of the communities and all of the cells of your body were gently bumping up against each other in a way that isn't bumping or propping or collapsing, but rather it's like a yielding to one another, so that the experience can traverse through your entire system of this intimate relating to its own self through its parts. And just a reminder, you can be absolutely still in this experience, or if your body, your cells are inviting in movement that come from the cells, not from the mind, please feel free to let your cells do their dance. You might find that your breath becomes a part of the dance, or you're sitting still and it's rhythmical. Right. And then take your hands and bring them onto your liver. And your liver, your gallbladder is tucked sort of into, not into, but underneath your liver. So you're essentially holding on to liver and gallbladder at the same time. Now, if you're not sure about your liver, it's on the right side of your body. It's underneath your lungs, underneath your diaphragm, tucked into your ribs. Its biggest portion is on the outside of your body, on the right side of your ribs. And then it goes across over to your left side as it gets a little bit smaller as it goes. It does cross center line a little bit and then comes to an end. So it goes from big to small, right side of your body. And depending on your shoulders, you may be able to take one hand to the back side of your body and one to the front. If that's too much in your shoulders, you can put both of your hands on the front of your liver. If you want to lay down for more ease or lean up against a wall, you can do that. And with your hands on your liver, first just have a moment and feel into what is the initial experience I'm having without trying to do anything at all. Just my hands are on my liver. What's the experience? Does your body want to be still to feel, or does your body want micro movements to invite you to feel? Just allowing. What does your liver need to be or to feel, or what do your hands need to feel like they're able to relate to each other? What environment can you create that allows for the deepest relating? Sometimes it's stillness, sometimes it's movement. I'll use a metaphor. It's like when you go out, some days, in order to connect to people, it would be easiest if you were on the dance floor, moving your body and meeting people like that. And other times, dependent on the person, dependent on how you're feeling, meeting one-on-one in a quiet space with less stimulation is going to be more profound. And so when I say, do you need stillness? in that silent space to be able to relate your hands to your liver? Or do they need to go to a bit of a dance or a movement in order to be able to find that relationship? And once they relate to each other and you kind of can feel the warmth of your hand and the warmth of your liver, this is the beginning of the yielding or relationship process as the energy becomes warm between them. Once you feel the warmth, is it possible to experience your hand energetically melting through your skin? And in a way that is yielding, we're not forcing ourselves in. We're not afraid to go in. And if you are, that's okay. We just acknowledge that and say, okay, I'm just going to stay on this level today because that's where I am actually feeling the most depth, is staying on the superficial level today. But if you feel ready and your liver says yes, and your hands say, yes, I have the capacity to hold, then you can invite yourself to energetically move through the layer of your skin. And we'll let the liver sit where it is. We're going to yield from our hands. And if for some of you visualizing your hand moving through your skin to your liver is supportive, then use visualization. For some of you, the tactile sensation of that happening, the liver and the hand moving towards one another might be the most profound. And we do whatever our systems are set up for to allow us for the deepest experience in this present moment. And if your hand has found its way through your skin and onto your bones, you can take a moment and see how it feels to have your fingertips that look so much like the ribs or feel like the ribs. Maybe allow your fingers to just feel and roll over the edges of your ribs so that the fingers fall into the spaces between your ribs, and then back on top of the ribs, and then maybe go above and fall into a different space of the ribs. And just allow your fingers to, once they've yielded through the skin and they're onto the bone, allow them to feel the bone underneath them and explore the bones underneath them. And in this yielding process, you can stay at the bone level. Or if you want more depth or need more depth, rather, then eventually invite yourself to yield through your bones. You'll go through fascia. You'll go through the intercostal muscles. You'll go through some more fascia. And eventually, if your liver says yes, and your hand says, I have the capacity to hold, eventually your hand will yield its way all the way through your skin, bones, muscles, fascia, and your hand will come to hold your liver and gallbladder itself. Your hand will hold your liver itself. In Chinese medicine, they say that in order to resolve something or to finish a pattern or process in the body, it simply needs to be witnessed, felt, and seen, but mostly seen. And so you might notice that as you come to hold your liver, that a whole slew of experience moves through your body. You may notice tingles, you may notice itching, you may notice irritability, you may notice joy or release, you may notice density, or you may just start to feel the texture of your liver and the thickness or the density of your liver, because every organ in your body vibrates at a particular frequency. So you may even drop into the frequency of your liver. There's lots of things, or nothing could be happening at all. You could be sitting here and nothing's happening, and it doesn't matter. But just knowing that as you sit here with your hand on your liver, a myriad of possibilities arrive. And it's in this moment that I invite you to continue to just listen into this relationship between your hand and your liver, and what arises as your liver feels seen by you, felt by you, held by you. Do you want to lay down and merge with the ground and just stay in the frequency of your liver? Do you want to stay in this stillness and just gently relate? Is your body, or your liver rather, inviting you to move? Perhaps just a gentle sway, or perhaps your liver wants you to stand up and dance around and move, or lean up against the wall. I invite you to just do as the liver asks or invites. And if you lose relationship, or your hand no longer feels like it's holding your liver, then you pause whatever you're doing and come back to hands on. Land back into your liver, locate it, sense in, yield in, reconnect. The same thing we need to do with our relationships with our family and our friends and our partners and our children and nature. When we feel, oh, I lost the connection, we come back to it. Oh, let's reestablish the connection. And I will leave silence now, just so you don't think the connection is gone or I've disappeared. I will leave for like 5 to 8 minutes of silence for you to just be with whatever experience you're having. And if you're unsure, become curious. Notice if you're having an experience and your mind automatically wants to go and grab the experience and say, this is true, this is happening, I want to write this down, or something like that. See if you can allow yourself to stay instead. Just stay with the experience and watch how it continues to change and unfold. And trust that the imprint will be made. You don't need to capture it. Staying with the continuum of relationship. And if your hand has remained on your liver, Know that you can also explore what happens when I yield my hand away from my liver slowly, slowly, the same way you did your hands apart. When you yield your hand away from the liver so slowly that you can still feel them together and in relationship, allow yourself to explore and experience that too. And if the relationship disappears, just come back to it. You can stay really small with it, really close, or you can move quite large with it, far apart. Big, big, wide movements or absolute stillness. There is no right way of you relating to your liver with yourself. Remember, no matter what your experience is, it's nothing about it is wrong or not how it's supposed to be. All of it is right, exactly how it's supposed to be for now. You may remember that your liver meridian is connected to your legs from your second big toe between your first and second metatarsals up the inside of your leg where it wraps your genitals and moves out and up to the side of your ribs to the tip of your 11th rib, and then to the space in line with your nipple in your 6th intercostal space. So you could explore, if you are in movement, how do your legs connect to your physical liver? And if that takes you out of relationship with your physical liver, just leave that aside and you can come back to that in a year or in a month or never. Or maybe connecting to, since it wraps your reproductive organs, connecting to the liver and sensing into your sensuality, your fertility, perhaps eroticism, even, Or maybe because it wraps your reproductive system, there comes up frustration and anger and irritability, or stagnation, depression. It's all sorts of things that the liver is connected to. And so, whatever the experience is likely very true. If you're stuck in your mind, it might be the grappling that needs to unwind itself, that stagnates the liver. If you're opening to beautiful visualizations, perhaps your liver is now flowing. There's all sorts of things that can come when we move into the liver. Now you can stay with what you have. If you're into something or something's clearing, we never want to stop a process. Everything goes through a full cycle. So if you're in the middle of a process, please stay with it. You can always, if you're watching the recording, press pause. Stay. But what I would invite now, if you're ready, is from your liver, see if and explore the relationship between your liver and your third eye or your visualization center. And maybe you put your hand up. I'm just naturally putting the back of my hand onto my third eye with my fingers outward. But maybe you want to touch it. Maybe you want to rub your third eye, tap it. I don't know. Invite yourself to wake your visualization center up. And maybe for you, it feels more the top of your head. Just feeling, if I was to visualize, where do my visions come from? And invite that place to now start relating to your liver. And if you're not sure, just explore. Nothing needs to be perfect. Nothing needs to be in order. Something might be really weird, and it's whatever comes, and there's no judgment. And start inviting a relationship between your liver and your visualization centers. Again, this may be in stillness or this may be in movement, somewhere in between. Maybe your eyes are open looking around to stimulate vision, or maybe you are someone that has quite large inner vision. And so your eyes are closed and you're opening up your cosmic vision. Neither is right, neither is wrong. Just whatever's going to bring you into the deepest experience of yourself through yourself. And when you move from your liver and you invite this relationship of vision to arrive or to find itself again, or to just even invite in the possibility of these two places in our body being connected. And we be really present to what arrives. Is it a color, colors, shapes, nothing, lights, or pure visions of other things? Is it a story that's playing that's actually from the past? Connecting your liver and gallbladder to your visual centers. You may even, if you need some support, if you don't have to listen. You could even imagine like the base of a flashlight is sitting on your liver, and the actual light part of the flashlight is at your third eye. And you can invite your liver to sort of move the flashlight around to try and clear or clarify the vision. Where do you want the light to shine? What does it see? You may be laying down, sitting, you might be up, moving around your space. You may be in a seated meditation or in Shavasana or Yoga Nidra form. And if you find that your vision is blocked or you have a very difficult time with visualization, that's okay. Each of us has our strengths. You can imagine yourself, and you might do it through touch, you might do it through just imagination and visualization. But imagine if your third eye flashlight was just dusty or caked with mud, and you're through the movement or the awakening of your liver, inviting that mud and that dust to be scraped off and cleaned with water. Or perhaps the wind needs to blow the leaves away. And just imagine yourself, if you have difficulty with visualization, cleaning off your third eye. And again, you could do it through touch, which helps to stimulate energy flow, tapping. For those of you that have visualization, tapping might be too much. I'm just inviting, if you need to, cleaning off of your visualization centers. And I'll leave you for about 3 minutes with this exploration. And if the relationship between your liver and your visualization centers loses itself, just bring them back together, maybe through touch, maybe through attention. But doing nothing through a propping or a collapse, but rather trying to yield this relationship. How do we bring it back together? How do we offer it sensations that will move the two in the direction of each other? And if you focus your visualization center on a vision, allow yourself from your liver to hold that vision, to watch it play out, to see its direction, its colors, its lighting, its characters, or anything else that's there. And allow your liver to hold the vision. And when you feel ready, and you'll know when you feel ready, imagine you putting the cap on the flashlight or a silk scarf on your visualization centers, and not in a way that's saying stop visualizing, but in a way that's saying you can rest now. And if you have a silk eye mask, you may even place it over your eyes or a blanket over your eyes too, and your forehead to cover your visualization center. And if you're in standing movement, you may slowly make your way to the ground and allow yourselves to lay down. And again, if you're not ready for that, then don't worry about it. You can press pause and press play when you are. But let your eyes be covered, your third eye included. And come to lay down, and you could lay face down, you can lay on your side, you can curl up in a ball, you can lay in Shavasana, you could lay in a restorative posture, and just set yourself up to now release any specific relationship. Let it release and come to rest with your eyes, all three of them, covered. Maybe you place a blanket over top of your body, keep yourself warm so that the energy can continue to flow. All your vision centers are at rest. All of the energetic tendrils that moved from your liver outward all come back into and centralize themselves back into your liver so that your liver can move now into a state of integration and rest. We yield our visualization centers and our liver energy away from one another so that they both can come to rest at their own source. And all of the cells in all of the communities of your body come to rest. Every source sits within its home, centralized, here, present. And we bathe in the trust of the intelligence of our body to integrate this experience the way that it needs to, without us needing to do any of the deciphering at all. We hand it over to the ancestors that we came from and to the divine that we are guided from. And we rest your physical body in the here and now. Your body is the container, the yin to the experience, which is the yang. The container is not trying to control the yang. Rather, it's the container, the space holder, the tangible. The skin is holding the experience. Our consciousness is holding the present moment for the experience. And allowing the experience to roll and unfold and swim and churn and spiral in all the ways it needs to, without us doing anything at all but bearing witness. And take a really deep breath in, and as you do, feel your skin, or feel your breath rather, underneath your skin, pressing up against your skin, inflating your body as if it were a balloon with prana. As you exhale, feel your body and your bones rest into the ground, held by the earth beneath you. And as you inhale, feel the ether enter your body, waking all of your cells up with life, with here-ness. And as you exhale, feel your bones being held by the earth, grounded, present, alive. Inhale, feeling the hairs on your arms and legs and belly and chest and back all wake up like little sensing antennas. And as you exhale, feel even your organs rest into the fascial matrix of your body, as if the fascia acted as hammocks for your organs to rest. And inhale. And as you exhale, slowly bring your hands onto your face and very gently, once again, trace your body. by sliding your hands all over, feeling, sensing your presence in this moment. You may even repeat to yourself a few times, I am here. I am here. I am here. How amazing is that? And walk your feet up. Hug your knees into your chest. Maybe tuck your forehead into your knees if it feels good and give yourself a squeeze. And roll onto whichever side you choose. And then extend your top leg out straight and put your top hand onto the ground. Begin to lift your top rib cage towards the ceiling all the way up until the last thing to arrive in a seated position are your head and neck. And sit in a way that feels like you're taking care of yourself, and also seated in a way that is of devotion to this practice and to your existence here. And we'll do a little chant. It's very simple. Om Hare Om Hare Om Hare Om. So we'll chant that a few times. If you prefer to sit and receive, you can. If you prefer to press stop, you can. Or you can allow your ears to rest as my words come towards your ears and the sound and the frequency absorb into your being. Om Hare Om Hare Om Hare Om Om Hare Om Hare Om Hare Om. Once more. Om Hare Om Hare Om Hare Om. Thank you for being here. Satnam.